Thank you so much for staying on today's program, International Forum. Appreciate you sitting down there. Wanted to get to know what is happening internationally. That's why we are here every Tuesday at about the same time to bring to you events making the rounds globally. Today is all about the Russia-Ukraine wars and, of course, matters arising in that particular sphere. People have been talking about this. You get to hear others having this insinuation that if it's not well handled, it may just give rise to the Third World War. And one man has been forgotten, who will actually still be remembered. One-time president of the U.S. is blaming Joe Biden of incompetence. He said the man is incompetent. Is about to bring us down to the brink of Third World War. No other person, the former president of America, Donald Trump. He said, give me an opportunity, if I were to be Mr. President, within 24 hours, I'll solve all this. Is there sense in what he's saying? Anyway, my analyst will be able to throw more light on that. Well, due to the fact that we didn't really start on time, we apologize for that. And we're going to make our best to make sure that you stay down to watch and to listen will be what you are. Barrister Emmanuel Obakpolo, a legal practitioner, human rights activist, political analyst, both local and international politics is well grounded. Barrister, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Good afternoon, Nigerians. A pleasure.
All right, and of course, Honorable Frank Amega, a lecturer at Uniben, faculty of our College of Medicine, sorry about that. Medical Sciences. Yes, he's also a clergyman, political analyst, human rights activist. In fact, he's a core member of ASU. If you want to go into activism right now, you should get to know what he will do. Both local and international politics is well grounded. Just have this great flair for it. As he's impacting knowledge, he wants to know what is happening globally. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate both of you. Yeah. Despite the fact that we have some things out there on the road, people don't want you to pass by blockade here and there. You're able to come to the studio. Really appreciate that. We're going to tee up the discussion by taking a sample from what Donald Trump said. He accused Joe Biden of incompetence. He said, look, this man, you are incompetent. If it were to be you, in the next 24 hours, Ukraine, Russia, what will be a thing of the past? Barrister Manuel, take it up from there.
The man spoke because he's a friend of Putin. It's from that angle he's speaking. But the way it stands just now, well, some of us thought that by now, this war, this senseless war should have been over. But I think the way it's going is as if the war is starting afresh due to the manner and form of bombardment that Ukraine is now witnessing from the hands of Russia. Remember, this war started on the 24th of February 2022, the invasion of Russia, Ukraine rather, by Russia. And things are getting worse. More than 12 cities of Ukraine are being bombarded a few days and inclusive today. You begin to see to the extent that Ukraine, even despite the invasion, Ukraine experienced 24-hour power supply. But just now, they have about 12 hours power supply because a lot of damage and damages, as the case may be, has been done to their power plants in Ukraine due to the bombardment from Russia. But be it as it may, I thought by now that NATO, United Nations, the EU, and other world organizations would have been able to come to a round table to see how this war would have ended. But just now, I remember sometime, few weeks ago, when Putin kind of threw the towel interimly by giving room for a ceasefire, so to speak. I remember I did say on this platform that I think this man may have something up his sleeve, and that the whole world should be cautious and see how they can take, one, the settlement to a neutral ground, two, to see how he can be persuaded on how to end the war visited on Ukraine. But now we've seen that immediately that opportunity came and due process or considerations were not given to it, before you know, less than 24 hours, the man launched another missiles and hit innocent civilians. Just now, we have a lot of refugees at the border between Ukraine and Poland and some other European nations. Particularly the eastern and southern part of Ukraine has been worse hit at this moment. So the war indeed is a senseless one, and I think the United States of America President Joe Biden should, being the United States is the world police, whether anybody believes it or not, should have see how this senseless war would have come to an end.
Right.
But I think just now we are observing, my observation shows that there is more that meets the eye.
We'll come to that.
So it is more political.
We'll come to that because people are like saying that it's going to a year now. Next month, 24, will be 1 year precisely since Russia invaded Ukraine. People are saying that, look, Joe Biden, what has he been doing after he's the #1 man in the #1 country right now, so to speak, the police of the world? We have got this thing on the wraps before Donald Trump will come out to, like, you know, say, hey, if it would be the wife, it would be you, Mr. President, within 24 hours, or this will just be a thing of the past. I'm going to, I'd like to have a rider to this particular question. And another question, is US afraid of Russia? The Western allies, are they afraid of Russia? Don't forget also, Ukraine asked for sophisticated weapons. Talking about jets, talking about some serious tanks, but US said, no, we can't go to that extent. They called it up, so to speak. Take it up from there.
Yes, what Donald Trump is saying, I don't think if he were to be the president right now, he will not do exactly what he's saying. And the war between Russia and Ukraine is an indirect war against US. It's not a direct war. To say Joe Biden is weak is not a sign of respect to a sitting president. The war is not between Russia and the US. To say the American president Joe Biden has refused to do the needful. Trump can say anything he likes. So for the help that Ukraine needs from US and some other nations, the help is on the way. Those jets, those tanks have been promised, because Zelensky has said, even in some days past, that the activities of Russia have increased by way of bombardment. And today is making the 342nd day since this war began. US has showed interest to bring every support they needed. Germany, the same thing. Even France and Canada, they have agreed to support Ukraine towards stopping this senseless war, as you rightly put it. So what I see there is, in a matter of days from now, Russia will have a rethink. It's only one Croatia that is against what US is planning to do. Only Croatia, I don't know why. But other nations, they have seen, even Finland, they have agreed to join NATO to enlist into that platform. Apart from Croatia, we have Belarus also that are saying no. Yes. To some of the promises to speak by the Western allies, say we are not going. In fact, they came out openly to support Russia. Yes. Yeah. So some European nations, especially Croatia, is against the move that US is going to make about deploying arsenals of weapons towards making Ukraine to be able to fight against Russia. And the way it's going, I wonder what was in the mind of Putin. What has happened? Why is this war unending? What do you want? You want to take over from all the territories of Ukraine? Or you want to just make Ukraine come back to the old USSR? You alone can't do that. I wish one could have access to a lot of Russians. I'm sure they would have been divided by now. Because the way it is going, once other nations join forces as they have planned, they have already agreed on what to do. Once they join forces with Ukraine, it will be so much problems for Russia at the end of the day. Now, Iran joining forces with Russia. Just some days ago, there was a blast, a drone attack hit the Iranian military factory, and they are suspecting Israel to have done that. Because if you see two persons fighting, it doesn't matter who the personalities will be, you try to broker peace. But this sudden interest, okay, they are fighting you, you don't know what resulted to that, you just make up your mind to join a side and start fighting. So if Joe Biden is appearing slow, it's because the war is not directly on them. So for Donald Trump to say that Joe Biden is weak, that qualification shouldn't be right now.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now, if you take a look at the wars, like, you know, coming, or will I say, metamorphosizing into a kind of a dimension that is getting out of control. Some are saying that all the talks, all the promises made to Ukraine by the foreign allies, talking about the West led by the US, NATO, and the rest of them, that it seems not to be enough. Because Zelensky also is complaining, give us what you promised. We need more of this thing. Why the hindrance?
Listen, my fear is this Russian-Ukrainian war, there shouldn't be any form of spillover of the war. Because, like we have agreed here, and on record, by the 24th of February 2023, we mark 1 year of this senseless war. And yet, we are not seeing any form of positivism. By that, I mean, we are not seeing any form or any right step towards ending this war. And that gives me more worries. Because if you look at it, now some countries are beginning to promise Ukraine without even fulfillment of their promises, as the case may be. Germany started by saying, oh, we are going to give you about 16, 19 Leopard tanks. Canada also promised Leopard tanks. The United States of America promised Leopard tanks. And all of this, we are not seeing coming into fusion. And yet, there is a heavy, huge bombardment by Russia on Ukraine. Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, received a lot of bombardment during the week past. Kherson also. So by the time the force of Russia hits more on the capital, what more do you think that Zelensky as the president and the Ukrainian army would do? So, one, I am afraid even if the promises made by these other world powers are fulfilled, then what we may experience is a spillover of the war. Because already Belarus is strongly in support with Russia. Then Sweden and Finland, who are also who share huge landmass border with Russia, are also now threatening to join NATO. And they are looking at Ukraine going through this pain she's going through now because she joined NATO. So why would Sweden
join or attempted joining NATO?
Yeah. Whether you call it attempted or not, I think the processes were already on. The paperwork have been completed. And that is why you saw Russia invasion. Yes. So now, Sweden, Finland are also attempting to do same. And what does that mean? And Russia is telling Sweden, if you try it, we will bombard you. He's telling Finland, if you try it, we will bombard you. Belarus is saying, Russia, we are with you. Then the world dreaded country, Iran, is also saying, look, we are with you. So, at the close of the day, if we sit down and count, rather, the purpose for this war will arrive at nothing but senselessness. So, whether the promises are fulfilled, Ukraine is already receiving the heels. if the promises are now fulfilled and Russia takes a step further. Because you know, before now, I did mention on this platform that what happened in the Second World War, the failure of the League of Nations, the United Nations may not want to have a repeat of that. So they saw the pitfalls of the League of Nations, and now they want to correct that. But the way it is going, if the war gets to a year and more than a year, I don't think United Nations may be able to stand again. So just now, they need to take a the action of a jet to see how this matter is resolved.
Okay, before next year, so to speak, next month, so to speak, 24th of February, it will be 1 year since this war started. Promises have been made, some fulfilled, many are yet to be fulfilled. Does it not mean that the sanction meted on Russia is not having the desired impact? Hence, they are still going out there. The onslaught against Ukraine is still very, very strong.
The sanctions are still very active. It is the active nature of the various sanctions placed on Russia that has angered them to begin to launch out more against Ukraine. Otherwise, if the sanctions meted on them were of no effect, they would have just maybe ignored and relaxed a little bit. So those sanctions are there, and it's just like someone that is having a wicked heart. He will insist on achieving, just like we're arguing for over a thing now, and the argument has ended to some of us. And the moment you start off a new topic, you know, say, hey, as I was saying the other time. So your mind still keeps going back to the other time and all that. So Russia is like a snake whose head has been cut off, and the other body is just wriggling here and there, thinking they are still very active.
Has the head really been cut off in this case? Are you sure about it?
The forces against Russia indirectly through Ukraine, Russia will understand that this battle, they can't stand it for too long a time. The moment those leopards are brought in from Germany and other France, America is saying they are bringing Abrams. That's what they call their own. Can Russia withstand all of this? So the threat they are having against Sweden and all that, Finland, is just like they need help, they need support. As they have volunteered to almost now be through with NATO registration, that further angered Russia to bombard Ukraine. So you can see the fight is senseless. Every nation in this aspect now is sovereign. So you cannot, from your balcony, you need to give out instructions whether a nation in your neighborhood should join or not join. That's not before you as a nation. That sovereignty must be maintained. So Putin now, I'm sure a time will come, if you don't mind, the divine intervention, such that these all things,
divine intervention,
if you don't mind,
okay,
these all things will be arrested abruptly. It has happened severally, even in Nigeria. When you say there's no way, there's no way, and God makes a way.
All right.
So what I'm saying in effect is, let all the nations that have accepted to join forces to supply all the arsenals of jets and all that to Ukraine, so that they're able to fight them one-on-one, and that by that peace will be brokered.
All right. Well, you heard him. It's like he said the head of Russia in this particular aspect has been cut off, so to speak, and it's just the other part of it that's like, trying to give us signs of life. From your own assessment, has the head of this operation truly been cut off, though it is metaphorical, so to speak? How do you view it?
I don't know what Prof meant by the head, because already, if there is any head that has been cut off here, I think that is the head of Ukraine, because Ukraine is most hit. Over 600 civilians have been killed, and more than 129 injured in the capital, not other city, in the capital alone. So when you take a grocery arithmetic of this analysis and you put it on the table or take it to the lab, as Prof would want to do, you discover that the acid reaction like they say, will be something that may cause more trouble to the world. I repeat, I pray and hope that the world won't witness another world war. Because if you see what Russia, with the language of Putin is that of a third world war. The man anticipates that. I read somewhere that he is even sending strippers and entertainers to the war to entertain soldiers. So a man that is sending strippers and entertainers, and you are saying that man's head has been chopped off or cut off. How? The man is telling you that, look, this world, I'm using it to entertain myself. In the words of late Lucky Dube, he said in his song titled Crazy World, he said, leaders start the war anytime they want, some for their rights, some for fun. I see Putin using this Russia-Ukrainian war as a fun in order to invite problem into the world. And that's why the man boasted from the outset of it, oh, I have Satan too. I can set the whole war in turmoil. I can set the whole war in crisis. And the war had to tread gently with him. But so far, so good. The international community have not been able to see how this matter could be resolved. And I fear, after 24th February 2023, whether indeed there won't be a spillover of this war.
All right, you heard him. He said they had him cut off because he said in this particular regard is the Ukrainians head, metaphorically speaking right now, that is in trouble because Zelensky had been talking, give us more arms. We need more weapons to continue with this defense of our territorial integrity. Kiev, the capital, has been attacked severally. Like you rightly said, also, people have been killed, civilians, many of them injured. Now, that's just for the capital. If you want to take a look at the outskirts of the capital, the story is different. Massive bombardment. Do you think that Zelensky can take more of the Russian assault this time around?
Putin is a depressed person. Yes. For you to send all those characters to
for what he said it's to entertain, to boost their morale.
If you have seen a depressed person, you will not want to be like some persons. You know, when you just wake up one day, you see somebody in a Rolls Royce driving and all that. You'll be, I wish I was the person. Until you get close to the person and discover that the person is depressed. You'll be parading the whole streets, you'll be wandering, goes to the shopping mall with a trolley and buying so many. You'll be carried away by that. So what is looking for, as you rightly said, attention. And the attention is going to get is a bombardment attention. By the time US, Germany, France are done supplying Ukraine with all what Zelensky has been asking for, you'll see discover that he himself will see all those dancers and run away.
How long is the when? That's because it's like how long? Because for almost like months ago, how long should Zelensky wait for this support? He got angry one time. He said, "Look, all this you'll be giving to us is not for charity. That means somewhere along the line they are paying for some of this. If not, they will pay for it.
There's a bargain. See,
so hold on. He has a flaw. He has a flaw. Hold on. I'll come to you. So he said, when they supply, the question is, when would they supply it? Take it up from there.
Very soon, those supplies will be made. Because for them to show interest in the supplies, they know the timing. These are smart nations. They know when exactly that Ukraine will need all of these that are requested for, even much more. Then help can be too late. America, all those other nations, they are aware that help can be too late. So these supplies will be brought in right on time. They're also calculating here and there. Should they bring it now or maybe after now? So the right time is a time whereby all these things will be brought to all of them.
All right. So, okay, you just hold on. I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. How long will be the when? That's a question on the ground. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, taking a look at the Russian-Ukraine war, matters arising. And of course, we were with Honorable Frank Amego are trying to x-ray that terminology soon, because it's been a while that Zelensky, president of Ukraine, been asking for this aid, this support, weaponry, and they're saying they will bring it soon. Now the question now is, yes, they've made the promise. Maybe they're taking a look at the timing. But the question now is, how long or how far will be that soon?
It is clear right now,
yes,
all of us will agree, that these various nations that have made attempts to help Ukraine, they are not doing that for eye service. Ukraine wants to join NATO. Russia is saying no. So the group that Ukraine wants to join, would they forsake Ukraine right now? They won't. If they forsake Ukraine now, then Ukraine can now say, Russia, we're even sorry for making an attempt to join NATO. So NATO components will not allow shame upon Ukraine. So if they want to help, and now that they want to help, that help will come right on time. They will tell you in pidgin English, not as better the scratch person did the scratch out. The way Zelensky is feeling, a lot of civilians are being killed, a lot of them are being injured, is raising alarm for help. And the help will come. We'll still come back to this floor to discuss that those things that they promised them have arrived. So the first thing, if you're asking for help, they should bring all manners of jets. Do you have the manpower to fly them? These are areas of consideration that all those NATO nations are looking at. If you don't give me this item, we'll give you, but the use of it is another factor that they'll be considering. I'm not ordering brief for NATO, but I know that as Zelensky asks for all this kind of help, military hardware, they will know that truly these things are needed. And they have made up their minds to bring Leopards, to bring Abraham, to bring all manners of things. They have agreed. Even Israel, they shot at the Iranian military factory because Iran was making an attempt to also supply Russia some arms. So instead of you waiting for Russia to receive those things from Iran, let's go and bombard the factory. And they did that.
All right.
So these are areas we can leverage upon to know that Ukraine is not alone.
Ukraine is not alone. It says it have made the promise, they are going to fulfill the promise. The question now is the same question I'm going to throw at you. It said soon. But how soon is that soon? Will the soon be enough for the soon to make Kiev recover her territorial integrity, or Ukraine? Will it be enough, the time spent for waiting for all these, weapons to come into Ukraine to defend herself against Russian onslaught? Take it up from there.
I don't want to somersault into agreeing with the fact that the jets or whatever weapon or all the nations of the world to gather the armory and give to Ukraine to fight Russia. I don't want to dabble into that. I am trying to look at the angle of peace that the United Nations represents. Because if you go back to history and you look at the before, during, and the aftermath of the Second World War, you would agree with me as a matter of fact that it is better this war ends now before all of these Leopard, Tiger,
Abraham, FT jets
are given to Ukraine.
But if they are seeking for peace, according to Donald Trump, how come they're supplying weapons?
That is why I am telling you that I anticipate a spillover of the war. That is my fear just now. Because by the time all of these nations who had promised Ukraine, all of what they want to do for Ukraine, do you think Russia will not fold its arms? No. So, before you know, Russia too have their own allies. And that is what Putin wants to gain. The man wants war. The man wants the world to be at a standstill. Because already there is an impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on even you and I, who are far away from there. Wheat is not a problem. Because Russia supplies most African nations wheat. And in cause of war, Russians cannot, Ukraine, they cannot go to farm. So when you consider all of this, and also look at the GDP of Ukraine. 2 weeks after the Second World War, it was 9%. But just now, as we speak, it's running to 17%. So, economically, she's down. In terms of military-wise, she's going down by the second with this kind of heat. Then when you talk of development in Ukraine, you know, you and me know, most Nigerian students go to Ukraine to school, particularly the medical students. One, for the reason that Ukraine has cheap institutions, very cheap when you consider it, when you put it with other nations of the world. So, but all of these are no longer there again. So, and she is now shouting, assist us, assist us, assist us. And the other people are telling them, oh, we are bringing our leopards, we are bringing our Abraham, we are bringing our zebra. When are you bringing them, just as you ask? Is it bringing the leopard that will end the war? That is the germane question. So why not look for a soft landing for Ukraine? So that the heat she has already absorbed is enough. So that Ukraine cannot see, even after the war, where does she start her development from? That is when she will know that some of these so-called power nations will now abandon her. She will begin to develop by herself. Or they'll look for one thing of interest that they want and begin to give them conditions to also help in the development. So all of this, if you sum them together, you know, scientists don't look at history. Scientists look at analysis. That is what Prof is doing here.
All right.
So scientists, but me, I look at history.
Okay. All right. I will come back to it. You said you analyze. You don't look at history, but it is speaking from history. All right. Because right now, like what you rightly said, they've made promises. But the question now is, how soon is soon? Now, he also said, look, it should be all about peace. Not about supplying the leopard, the tigers, the Abraham to come do more damage. And his fear is that there may just be a spill. It may just lead to a third world war. What do you feel about his own anxiety?
I'm surprised. Pastor is saying there may be a spill. He's not doing analysis. That's not historical.
Analytical.
Analytical history.
Okay.
So, I don't have such fears. Because this war will so end. There's something we are running away from. There are times you need to fight to bring about peace. If you're always on the defensive, all the time defensive, and the person becomes a tyrant on you, so there is no time that tyranny will ever end. But there's a little resistance, as the lesson is crying for. Give me these weapons to resist them to some extent. By the time he hits you once, and you return the blow, he gives you again, you give him. Though yours is more painful, the way he gives is more painful, but that guy will know that this man is as if he's training somewhere. So let this fight continue to bring about peace. Because Putin is not ready to accept peace. He wants to just crush.
No, but he gave them conditions.
You
He said, hold on, you have the point, just hold on. He said, look, leave the Donbass region, disband your army, go home, there will be peace.
So what happens to the sovereignty of Ukraine?
Over to you.
So that in itself shows the war has just started. If I'm going to fight you, and I ask you, if I slap you once, you say thank you, sir. If I slap you 2 times, you say thank you, sir. So that war just started. Because you get to a point where you say thank you after the first slap, the third and the fourth, you get to a point you resist and want to fight back. You won't make an attempt that I want peace in this territory that will be some conditionalities. That's no peace. That's an outright display of oppression. And thank God Zelensky does not accept that. If they had accepted that, Ukraine would have been kind of a stood in the hands of Russia. So this fight can continue for a while. It will snowball into that kind of war we are envisaging. It won't. Let there be a bit of resistance. There was a time when I take you, I also some history. In the biblical days, God empowered Israel to fight and to kill the Amalekites. when the fight got started, God was not so happy. God had to do his fight from heaven. At the end of the day, God killed more of the Amalekites than the Israelites killed them. So there is a relationship here. If Russia is insisting on crushing Ukraine, other nations of the world are watching, and there's a way they can help, and that they are ready to do. A little bit of patience. This is not a fanfare that you just dabble in and dabble out. They know the intricacies, all the dynamics, the mechanics involved in this war. They know it. So they are tacticians in this field. So they know when exactly to bring them. And in no distant time, these various weapons and all that will be present in Ukraine, and peace is nearby.
Over to you.
You know my fear. Maybe Prof is not also looking at that. Russia took the war to Ukraine. All of this war is fought in Ukraine. Now, if the Leopards come, the Abraham come, where are they going to do the bombardment on? Still on Ukraine. So, except and until there is, if Russia can bombard, if Ukraine rather can bombard Russia, maybe bombard Moscow, just as Russia is bombarding Kiev, bombard Moscow, bombard other cities in Russia, I will tell you that there is going to be a balance in the war. I will tell you that the possibility of peace coming is there.
But Putin, hold on. But Putin boasted recently, was it yesterday or just today, that Russia have the best air defense in the world?
You can say so.
That, whether he has the best air defense or not, that is another fear. You are adding more to my fears. Because now you are telling me that Ukraine cannot get to Russia. So what the international community ought to do is to sit down. Now, if we cannot make peace in this war, we want the war to continue. How do we assist Ukraine? Because even with the bombardment Ukraine is going to make, is inside Ukraine. There should be something outside Ukraine. This is my thinking. If we can get to Moscow, then strike, get to Moscow. If we can get to any other city in Russia, get there. But not that the war will be fought only in Ukraine. And you are telling me, bring Leopard, bring this. The Leopard will be used where? Still in Ukraine. So, in this kind of situation, Ukraine is at the receiving end. You know, at times, when people want to test the strength of another, the possibility of using a neutral person or neutral team to test that ability is there. That is what I see here. The international community have used Ukraine as a sacrificial lamb. And Russia keeps bombarding them. And we've not heard of any form of bombardment in Moscow. We only hear, some numbers of soldiers, Russian soldiers too have been killed. The question I ask, where were they killed? Were they killed in Moscow?
All right.
Were they killed at the boundary between Ukraine and Russia? So these are questions begging for answers. And in a situation where they know that the arm of Ukraine cannot get to either Moscow or any other city in Russia, then the war should be ended.
Over to you, Honorable. He said I'm married to his anxiety. Come on, I wouldn't want to do that. I need to your fear, because from what he said, they have the best air defense system in the world. That is quoting Putin.
He said so. As you always tell us, that's his own opinion.
Opinion.
Good. My guy, the left-hand side, they're going to be afraid. For Zelensky to ask for help, the battleground is going to shift. It will shift. Leopard, Abraham, there's not a dang gun they're going to bring that they will shoot, there'll be smoke everywhere. It has a range. Of course, a very long range.
Yeah, and precise also.
Yeah, the precision is very high. So it's going to leave Ukraine and switch over to Russia. That's what will reduce your fear. The war front will not thereafter become Ukraine. It has to be shot far above and far into Russia. So by that, the resistance that Ukraine ever needed will be able to get it.
But hold on, Honorable. The condition that Russia gave, they're the one in the offensive that said, look, if any nation should try giving Ukraine long-range weapon, they're going to attack that nation.
Who is talking?
Putin made it clear, and ever since that threat, none of them have given Ukraine any weapon that can get to Moscow. Are they afraid of the man Putin?
They are not afraid. It's not like a game. You'll be boasting. And will do this to you, I'll do that to you. You know, if you watch boxing or wrestling, you see them making an attempt to say, I will kill you, I will do that. But about middle of the match, it goes on that all those boastings would have faded off. Let US supply as they have promised. Let Germany and the rest of the nations supply and see what Putin will do. He can't do anything. All those threats are just threatening Ukraine. It's Ukraine that can feel threatened. But other nations, US, Canada and the rest are not threatened as much as Ukraine is threatened. Because they're just by your backyard there. You can be saying all manners of things. Let them supply all what they have requested for, even beyond the request, and see if Putin will not come to a standstill.
All right, now let's take from his own angle. What if peradventure they supplied all these weapons start before now on 24th of February? Do you see a change in the tide of the war?
I do not see a change. Instead, I see I am the stage of...
I mean, so we're talking about Leopard, they're talking about Abrams, talking about the jet fighters, what they've said no to, that they give them the necessary support. Do you think there'll be a change in tide?
See, Putin will carry out his threats. Wow. The man will carry out his threats because you know what? I see Putin as a senseless, frustrated human. That's how I see him. And if you want to deal with a man that is frustrated, be careful. Because already, even the war, despite the fact that he's the one doing all of the bombardment, the man may not be enjoying it. But that is his character. The man has character problem. And any person that has character problem like Putin is a dreadful person. He's somebody that you should be careful with. I see a situation where any country in the world supplies Putin, Ukraine rather, with long-range weapon and it gets to Moscow, I see him doing otherwise. Just like he has threatened. So, and that is why I still appeal to the international community that there are better ways to intervene in this war. And there are better ways to settle it. Because, just now, as I speak with you, Sweden and Finland are also carrying out their own. And the man is also threatening. So by the time it involves Sweden, Finland, again, then what will be the hope of Eastern Europe? Because just now, Eastern Europe is on fire.
Thank you so much, Barrister. Well, Honorable, we're going to have the last take on this discussion. What do you think should be the way forward? Putin is not backing out. This seems to be one of the longest outside wars, so to speak, before the fall of the Soviet Union. He's been backing on. He dealt with Georgia. Georgia was able to, repel him. He left Georgia. Now talking about Ukraine, doesn't want to let go. What should be the way forward?
Yeah, the way forward is simple. Let America, Germany, and other nations that have promised Leopard and Abraham and all that, let them fully supply. That's the way forward. Because they have begged it, they have appealed to his conscience over and over again, and it's not emerging. So the best, as I say, I'm not preaching English, all done and done. Let's face it. The threats you have been making here and there, bring them to pass, let's see. Because at the end they can't do anything.
All right.
They can't do anything.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Our time is up. The war rages on in Ukraine. Putin talking tough. Zelensky doesn't want to back down. The allies, they are there supporting one or the other. Do you think this would be something like a spill according to the fear of Barrister, Third World War, or everything will be neutralized, normalized after you retaliate according to Honorable? It's only time that will tell. Yes, my colleague Mark Bolo, he lost his mother-in-law, and of course the right to be on Thursday of February, and of course to 15 or thereabout February. If you see him, just tap his shoulders, console with him, whatever thing that you can really console him with. Okay, it's not easy to lose someone. May also rest in peace. Yes, Imaboloho losing his mother-in-law. Well, that's it on the show this afternoon. Keep watching events internationally on this station. Next week, Tuesday, God willing, We'll do it again. Bye for now.